Seriously? My cat was literally just playing with a magnet. Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Emily and I post a ton of bookish content as well as the occasional lifestyle content. And if you are not new here, hello, welcome back. Happy to have you. I have so many cats. They're wandering throughout this entire video. Don't mind it, please. I have 4 cats, so this is my life. For today's video, I figured we would just jump right in and do my March wrap up and my April TBR, because as you guys know, at the end of every month, I love to combine these two together in a video and share with you guys what I'm hoping to read and what I just finished reading. We're gonna start off with the March wrap up, and it's a pretty good one. So the first book that I read in March was My Lovely Wife by Samantha Downing. If you are not aware of what this story is about, it is about a married couple who have 2 almost teenage kids, and they murder together for the most part. They do different jobs within the murdering. The husband tends to choose the select person they want to kill, and then the wife kind of does all the planning and the actual killing of them, which is why it's called My Lovely Wife. And there's so many different twists and turns throughout it, and I was not really, I was predicting the ending. I'll just say it now, I gave this book a 3 out of 5. It was good, but not great. I was a little bit disappointed because I've been really wanting to read this for over a year and a half now, and it didn't really live up to the hype that I've heard from other people. So I gave it a 3, and I honestly think that might have been generous. The narration was kind of strange to me. There were so many different things that happened that I was like, this is predictable and not that scary. So while it was a good book, I probably wouldn't recommend it as a thriller. There are so many other great ones out there, but I'm not opposed to trying a different book of hers. This might have just been a one-off or something, I don't know. But yeah, that was the first book I read in March. The next book that I decided to pick up was actually our Lost in the Plot book club pick for March, and that was No Exit by Taylor Adams. This is a good thriller. I rated this one a 5 out of 5. I was pleasantly surprised because I've never really read a book like this. It is so unique. I don't really read books that only span over one day or less than a day, and this book does that. If you are not aware of what this story is about, we follow a young adult woman named Darby, and she's going to her mother in a different city who is on her deathbed because she wants to see her before she dies and maybe try and rekindle their relationship before she dies. And on the way there is a massive snowstorm. She can't get there right away, so she has to wait at a visitor center. And at that visitor center, there is a van with a little girl in it in a cage. And obviously she's freaking out. She doesn't know what to do, and she has to make all these big decisions by herself. And she essentially just goes through the movements of trying to save this little girl, trying to figure out who was the kidnapper, and essentially try and just get her out without dying. So it was definitely the most suspenseful and scariest book I think I've ever read, just because this could very well happen to someone and it's not so far-fetched. Would I have made the same decisions as Darby? Absolutely not. But without her decisions, it wouldn't have been such a great book. And yeah, 5 out of 5. I highly recommend this, and I'm definitely gonna pick up more from him. There is a movie out on Disney Plus. Would I recommend it? Absolutely not. The next book that I read was actually probably one of my new favorites ever, and that is Delilah Green Doesn't Care by Ashley Herring Blake. This is a queer romance. It is following this girl named Delilah Green who was brought up by her stepfamily, who's from this place. What is the place called? Bright Falls. And she doesn't live there anymore. She moved to New York because she's a photographer, and she also just wanted to get away from her stepfamily because they're very privileged, and I don't even know how to explain it, but they're higher class, and she just doesn't really fit in there, and she doesn't like the way they live. So she moves to New York, is doing her photography stuff, and her stepsister Astrid calls her back for her wedding to be the photographer, and she's been offered quite a good sum of money, so she obviously goes back. And when she's back, she actually runs into one of Astrid's best friends, Claire, and another one of her best friends. I believe her name is... Why is it so hard to remember names in books? The other friend is Iris. So anyway, she gets along really, really well with Claire. Claire is one of Astrid's best friends, and she also has a 11-year-old daughter with this guy who she has like complications with. They're not together, but it's confusing. And so anyway, they're both either bi or lesbian, and they end up getting along really well. They kind of have to keep it a secret because it's Astrid's wedding coming up, and they don't want to stress her out by telling her that her best friend is kind of crushing on her sister, who she doesn't really get along with. So that's kind of the whole premise of the story. It is quite smutty. It's really, really good. And this was Ashley Herring Blake's first debut novel. So honestly, if that's any indicator of me picking up more books from her, I absolutely am, because this was so good. It was funny. It was heartbreaking. It was hot. It was all of the things. And obviously I rated this a 5 out of 5. So I highly recommend you go pick this up. So, so good. And the last book that I have read in March that I am still reading, but there's a few more days left and I'm going to finish it, is A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. I have read the first book, A Court of Thorns and Roses, and I did enjoy it. I rated it a 3 out of 5. So far, this one is definitely better in my opinion, so it's leaning more towards a 4 out of 5 maybe, or 3.5. I still have like 30% of the way to go, but I am really, really enjoying it. So if you are not aware of what the A Court of Thorns and Roses series is all about, we follow Feyre, and she is a mortal who hunts for her family. She hunts this wolf that ends up not being a wolf. It is a different creature of a different realm, and a fairy actually comes to her village and takes her away from her family. It's meant to be kind of like a really loose retelling of Beauty and the Beast at the beginning. Definitely not an actual retelling of it, so don't go into this series thinking that, because it's so much deeper, so much more intense and violent and romantic. It's all the things, and essentially Feyre just goes through a lot of shit, and I don't want to spoil anything for you guys, but she is the main character for the first 3 books. Then there is a novella, and then there's a new book that came out, I believe, last year called A Court of Silver Flames, which is about her sister Nesta. But yeah, this book has been really, really great. We get to know all the different love interests and the most powerful fae in the land, and it's just like a really, really great book. I love how descriptive it is. I honestly was a little bit scared that I wouldn't like it because it is so long, but as you can see, I have been annotating the crap out of it because it is genuinely such a good book. So, highly recommend this one. It is a lot of people's favorites in the series, and so far, same, but it's only my second book, so. Okay, we are moving on into the books that I plan on reading in April, and once again, there are 4 books. I've been on a good roll of reading 1 per week. Oh, hello! Easy, hi. Oh my gosh, she hates being held. But she's so cute. So cute. So yeah, 1 book a week has been a pretty good average for me, and I'm hoping to stick that way. If it ends up becoming 3 books or 5 books or whatever, that's totally fine. But I have 4 books here that I'm going to show you. So, first one being, finally, The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I don't think I really need to explain this book that much, but if you're not aware, it is basically a fantasy book about a girl who lived centuries ago and makes a deal with like a demon or a dark god or something to be immortal and live forever, but she ends up not being remembered by anyone she meets. And I think then there's someone at a bookstore she meets who actually remembers her or recognizes her, and the story kind of goes from there. So I'm not entirely sure if I'm gonna like this book. I have a feeling I will, just because so many people have told me it's very beautifully written, and I do have another book by V.E. Schwab that I want to try out as well. So if this one doesn't work, hopefully that one will. It's a new release, actually, it's right here. And it is Gallant. It's a YA fantasy, so if this one doesn't work out, maybe this one will. I don't know. But nonetheless, this is going to be my first book in April, and I'm going to read it right after A Court of Mist and Fury is complete. The next book that I am hoping to read in April is actually April's book club pick for Lost in the Plot, and I'm so excited about this one. I've heard literally nothing but good things about it, and that is Love and Other Words by Christina Lauren. Again, I feel like a lot of people know about this book, but it's basically about childhood friends who bond over books, which is just so cute. And then as they grow older, they kind of realize there's more there than just friendship. And I believe the night that, his name is Elliot, right? Yeah, it's Macy and Elliot. So the night Elliot actually confesses his love to Macy, he ends up actually breaking her heart in that same night. And then they don't talk for like 10 years. So this book is kind of like a then and now, and it shows them 10 years later and how Elliot kind of needs to heal and work through things and basically like prove, I think, to Macy that she is worthy of this like all-consuming love from him. He never stopped loving her, all that stuff. But she is, I'm pretty sure, yeah, she is planning a wedding to an older financially secure man. So I guess there might be some sort of love triangle situation, but childhood friends to lovers is such a cute trope, and I'm really excited to discuss this book with everyone at the end of the month. The next book I plan on reading is more of a general fiction, new adult contemporary, and it is One Italian Summer by Rebecca Searle. I love Rebecca Searle, and I love her writing style. We actually read In 5 Years for the first month of Lost in the Plot's book club, and I rated it a 4 out of 5. I adored the book. It was honestly so cute, and although it was advertised as a romance, I actually liked that it wasn't really a romance. Like, there was love in it, but it was more so about the platonic love with friendship. And it's kind of similar for this one too. So in this book we follow Katie and her mom Carol, and her mom actually suddenly passes away right before they're supposed to go on a trip to Italy, to this city where Katie's mom actually met her dad or something like that. And even though her mom did just pass away, she decides she's gonna go anyway because she knows that's what her mom would have wanted. And when she arrives there, she does actually feel her mom's spirit and actually sees her mom in the flesh as a 30-year-old woman before she has Katie. And that's the thing about Rebecca Searle's work too. She does add a lot of magical realism, and I really like that. So this book is basically Katie and Carol at the age of 30 kind of becoming friends, and Katie helping her kind of find her way. And I think it's just like a coming of age story, getting to know her mom in a different light, and she's not really what she expects, but she helps her grow and find her way. And yeah, I don't know. That's all I really know about it, but I'm excited. I also like that it's relatively short. It's like under 300 pages, which I'm a fan of. And yeah, that is the second last book that I plan on reading, and that leaves us on the last book, which is The Push by Ashley Audrain. I am actually buddy reading this and One Italian Summer with two different friends, and I'm so excited about it. But The Push by Ashley Audrain is, I think it's advertised as a thriller, but my friend told me that it's very unique. It's not like your typical thriller. And I do know that this has to do more so with motherhood and the issues revolving around how women aren't always believed, stuff like that, that I think is going to be very interesting to read about and super meaningful. But it is about this girl named Blythe who has a daughter named Violet, and she doesn't really feel connected to her. She feels like there's something wrong with her relationship with Violet, something wrong with Violet in general, and her husband just tells her that she's imagining things. When her second kid comes, it ends up being a son named Sam, and she feels that connection with him. So it kind of confirms with her that there is something, not maybe wrong with Violet, but something wrong with their relationship. And from there, I don't really know what's going to happen. All I know is that it's going to be dark and maybe have me questioning motherhood. I don't know. So that is it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Honestly, there's not really much else to say. I like doing these because they are kind of like, they're the most fun to record for me, honestly, because I look forward to all my TBRs and it's also just like an easy video because I feel like I'm just talking to you guys, explaining my thoughts on the books that I've read and how excited I am to read these books. But yeah, that is everything for this video. I hope that you guys have been enjoying all of my bookish content as much as I've been enjoying recording it and editing it and all that stuff. I am just really happy with where this channel's at, and I couldn't be more grateful for you guys. So thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like this video if you want to see more from me, and also subscribe if you want to as well, because why not? It's there, it helps, it supports me, and I would be grateful. So thank you again, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!